Like its predecessor, Solaris 2 is offered with a pair of engines with a displacement of 1.4 and 1.6 liters, 1.4 MPI 100 horsepower G4LC. The younger motor is completely new, from the Kappa family. But in terms of characteristics it resembles its predecessor from the Gamma series. However, this motor is more complex. It has two-phase shifters and an intake manifold of variable length. But something makes it more attractive, namely the presence of hydraulic compensators in the valve drive and oil nozzles for irrigating the pistons. This engine does not suffer from oil burns. Its silent Morse chain, 24,321 to 03101, easily lasts for more than 250,000 kilometers. The first owner's complaints about this engine were related to vibrations at idle. 2 service campaigns were carried out on this issue. Dealers updated the ECU firmware. But what worries owners of Solaris, even of this second generation, more is the resource and condition of the neutralizer. There's a lot of conflicting information that the ceramic honeycomb of the converter is destroyed very early. This dust gets into the cylinders and leads to scuffing. For this reason, Korean engineers even came up with a clever shape for a simple exhaust manifold in order to increase the distance from the cylinder head to the converter. However, the truth is that the neutralizer is destroyed by low-quality AI-92 gasoline. Gasoline with this octane number can be used for this engine, but in practice AI-95 gasoline provides a much longer neutralizer resource. 1.6 MPI G4FG Gamma. The 1.6-liter engine is an upgraded Gamma 2 series engine from its predecessor. There are two-phase shifters, variable intake manifold geometry, a bush roller timing chain, and a complete absence of hydraulic compensators. In practice, thermal gaps remain normal even with mileages of more than 250,000 kilometers. The chain is also durable. Vibrations of this engine can be treated by replacing the spark plugs and coils if they are worn out due to overrunning spark plugs. In fact, the only thing that worries us is the same neutralizer. There were many alarming cases when it fell apart during runs of up to 100,000 kilometers. True, it didn't get to the point of bullying. Often, owners cut out the catalyst after the warranty expired. In this case, as a rule, a flame arrestor was installed in its place, which is correct. At the same time, the ECU was reflashed to meet less stringent emission standards, i.e. below Euro 4, and even installed a decoy instead of a lambda probe. Therefore, do not be surprised if you find traces of the neutralizer being opened on a Solaris sold on the secondary market. M6CF1 6-speed manual transmission. Paired with both second-generation Solaris engines, a 6-speed was installed. Manual transmission. This transmission is durable, but there are cases when it starts to make noise and literally crackle during acceleration. In this case, you will have to replace the rear bearing 4322526A0 of the input shaft. It costs about $60. We recommend changing the transmission oil, viscosity SAE 70 watts/85 or SAE 75 watts/85, MPI GL4, in this manual transmission every 80,000 kilometers. Such maintenance will cost much less than replacing a bearing with disassembling the transmission. Also keep an eye out for transmission oil leaks along the input shaft oil seal. This is also not uncommon. A6 GF1 6-street automatic transmission. The two-pedal Solaris 2 can be equipped not only with a 1.6-liter, but also with a 1.4-liter engine. The automatic transmission is the same in both cases. 6-speed A6 GF1. This is objectively a very resourceful transmission. Even in cars from taxi companies, it lasts 400,000 kilometers. To achieve such results, you should change the ATF in it every 50,000 kilometers. A little less than 4 liters of oil drains through the plug in the pan fill in the same amount. You must use ATF SB4 specification oil. The filter does not change when replaced. It is deep inside the automatic transmission and is accessible only after disassembling it. The entire suspension of Solaris 2 is durable. Replacement of its main components occurs every 150,000 kilometers. First, about the little things that had to be changed for the first time at about 100,000 kilometers. These are tie rods 56540H8000 and ends 56820H8000, which in the original will cost $35 or 3 times cheaper from well-known manufacturers, or $10 if they are of Chinese origin. The original front stabilizer struts 548304V000 cost less than $20. Replacements are slightly cheaper. Silent blocks 545511J000 and 54584H5000 for the front levers cost $7 and $20, respectively, for the rear and front. Ball joint 545300U000, less than $20, and it lasts more than 200,000 kilometers. The front wheel bearings sometimes began to hum at 120,000 kilometers. The original ones, 51720H5000, sell for $30. There are only 2 silent blocks in the rear suspension, at the mounting points of the rear beam. They 55160H8000 last more than 300,000 kilometers and cost $30 each. The original shock absorbers on these cars can easily last more than 300,000 kilometers. Usually its drivers complain in unison about the complete lack of sound insulation. This is the budget essence of this car, which has received cool multimedia and in the expensive top-end restyled version pleases with fully LED headlights, but at the same time has no shield from external noise and the rustling of its own tires. But the body metal turned out to be surprisingly resistant to corrosion. Yes, the paintwork in a modern style is thin and easily knocked off even by the tiniest stones. But the chips don't bloom. By the way, the bottom and its entire attachment, including the exhaust system, are also not prone to rust in even the saltiest winters. The only exception is the roof panel. Deep stone chips at the leading edge of the roof will easily and naturally bloom and cause paint to bleed. There are complaints that the metal of the outer body panels is too thin. It is dented by a finger and is easily deformed when in contact with any obstacles. A fashionable false radiator grille with large cells for air passage also allows shock to pass through. That is, it lets through most of small stones and dirt that inevitably bombard the radiator, or rather one of them, condenser, i.e. air conditioner radiator. By the way, it was noticed that the configuration of the jumpers in the radiator grille is such that a stream of water from a car wash can ricochet into the generator. True, the generator does not pay attention to such a shower. Let's return to the radiators. If their surface is very dirty, then wash it. If it's damaged, we replace it. Incandescent lamps in second-generation Solaris headlights are considered very common consumables. Owners are no longer surprised that at least one of them will have to be replaced between oil changes. Expensive halogen lamps with a promised extended service life do not justify themselves. We advise you to carry spare lamps for the main and auxiliary headlights. After the 5th year of operation, the door stops wear out. As usual, it all starts with the driver's door. Fixations in intermediate positions disappear, squeaks appear. New limiters 79390H5000 cost about $20. On the left spoke of the steering wheel there are multimedia control buttons. In addition to the buttons, there are 2 rockers, i.e. 2 joysticks. The volume control lever on many Solaris is broken. It no longer locks in the 0 position. Pressing it does not change the volume level. On many cars it was replaced under warranty. Today you can buy it $96,715H5000 for $30. It's easy to change. By the way, the number of buttons on the spokes of the steering wheel depends on the equipment level of this car. However, owners often retrofitted poor versions. They added multimedia control buttons if neither them nor the system itself existed. The same goes for cruise control and rear view camera. They can be added using original components.